y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And what a week. But before we get into everything, I don't even know how long this podcast is going to go today. We might quit on the podcast like the Mets have quit this week. But subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let us know how you're feeling. Are you as frustrated as Victor and I? This is just. But hey, let me not get into my tangent just yet. Victor, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I feel like I'm not as bad as most Mets fans right now because, listen, going off of last year and the year that we had, to me, going into this year, they had to prove it. They hadn't proven anything as of last year, not making the playoffs, having that horrible second half, and then starting off the year this year. Yeah, you couldn't tell me that they were going to be uh, a top of the league in just based off of what we had last year. And so I'm not expecting much from this team until they prove to me that, hey, yeah, we're a playoff team and you should be rooting for them. I know that a lot of Mets fans are frustrated because they're paying good money to go out to the ball games and watch quality baseball, and they're not getting that right now. And so I understand the frustration, but it's a long season, so I'm still hoping that they climb themselves out of this rhythm or lack of that they have right now or don't have, and start to pick it up, because if they continue on the slump that they're on, then all these questions are just going to be raised, and you're going to have all of these transactions. You leave yourself more room for uh things to happen and for discussion to happen, and that just builds up like division in the clubhouse and decisions for Carlos Mendoza to make that aren't going to be fun in the long run, and we're going to be sitting here just complaining about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, and I'm kind of with you in a sense, but yeah, yeah, I'm frustrated, but let's get into it. Let's review the series. Our first question of the day: review the series. Honestly, there's not much to talk about. I don't know, how much we really need to get into reviewing of the series. For me, the biggest highlight of this whole week was Nolan McClain potentially having no hit stuff. Not actually having no hit stuff, but when Ronnie kind of said it in the broadcast, once everything is clicking, once all the pitches are working for Nolan McClain, who is going to be the future eights, even though we saw Peralta have a good game today. The future ace kind of showed his colors this week, and the best part of the review, I don't even know what to review because we didn't do much other than not hitting for Nolan McClain. He got, McClain getting the Grom treatment. Well, Peralta got the Grom treatment today, but it's Nolan McClain for me this whole week. That's really the whole review of my week is Nolan McClain.
I think he was excellent, and like I said in the last podcast, he continues to build and show himself to be a really top tier pitcher. I'm not going to give him that ace just yet. He is still building to that point, but having two starts in a row where he had that no hit stuff at the beginning of the or last week, and then this week, going into the seventh inning, it was impressive. And I think the story of the week for everybody that they've been talking about as of a review of this whole week and this series is what's going on with Lindor. What is happening with Francisco Lindor? What are these mental mistakes that he's making? This lack of effort that he's showing. He had a game today. I think all of the comments yesterday kind of got to him, and in the sense of not making him upset, but maybe having him reflect and think, what am I doing? Like, am I really not doing something right now? And should I be more of a leader in the clubhouse, because he hasn't been. He started turning it on today, running out the bases. He had that ugly um strikeout, throw out. double play in the one of the early innings today. But that was about it, and I think he's starting to turn a new leaf. But what is going on with Francis Lindor was the question of the week.
Well, and there you go. That's how much this week nothing happened for the Mets. That even in the review of the week, all we're talking about is concerns, which is the next question. And what are the concerns that you have? You know, because we're just going to jump into it because the review of the week wasn't much of a review, right? Nolan McLean, and now we jump into the concerns. Is um, is Lindor finally waking up, like you said, or is there something really bothering Lindor, right? And I was in Twitter Spaces all week. It was a wide range of things that they were talking about for Lindor, and at the end of the day, you know, it's not one of those things that um, is really quantifiable because if it is in his head, we won't know. We really won't know about it unless he tells us, right? Or is it his age, or is it other things? And at the end of the day, maybe what you saw today is him finally saying, "Look, let me get out of this malaise," because it seems like it always happens every year with Lindor. Every March, April, after he leaves Florida and goes into the cold. Mind you, I hate the cold myself. So I get it, you know, but he leaves the cold and gets into this funk because he's cold. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if that's it. That's my theory that it's because of the cold. He doesn't like it. He hates it. I don't like the cold. There's a reason why he lives in Florida, and you know, it's something that every year we got to deal with this. Last year was the only year that Lindor didn't have that slump in April. He actually had a good April last year. That was the only year. And at this point, do we, you know, because the Yankees had it on the other side years ago with Mark Teixeira, right? They were always complaining that he had this uh, bad start, and those guys aren't the only guys. But here's the problem: we need them to perform, right? Right now, because the team is struggling, we can't deal with this usual, hey, Lindor, let the weather warm up, and then we're going to see Lindor in May, June, and July, right? That he's that type of player that he's that good that he can go a buck 88, I think is his batting average right now, and turn it on for the rest of the year and him have a decent season. Right now, we can't afford it. Soto's out, and he's got to get out of this malaise.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think you hit the nail on the head because everyone is saying that this is a funk like no other, that this is something new, is something, is he hurt? Is something going on? Because this is a funk that we haven't seen out of Francisco Lindor before. But I remember a couple years ago, every year we would literally say the same thing. Last year was the only year that we didn't. And I think the only difference between this year and the other years was that there was kind of a leader that they were falling back on, someone that was providing for the team in place of Francisco Lindor. Usually that was Pete Alonso leading up to that, and last year was Juan Soto, even though he did have a good start to the year. But this year he is the guy. Like he is the guy that's representing the team with Juan Soto out and Bo Bichette not being or being new to the team. He's still producing and being a serviceable hitter to the point of what he can be, but he's still not the leader of the team. Francisco Lindor is the leader of the team right now, while Juan Soto's out, and he's not playing like it. And so hopefully we do see him pick things up. I think you mentioned it offline. Him going to LA might get him out of that funk because they get to play in some warmer weather, and maybe that is just all he needs. We saw things starting to pick up today, and hopefully that carries on to next week. But another one of my concerns that I wanted to address is Luke Weaver. Man, Luke Weaver is looking like uh, like no, I can't even dice my words. He's looking like trash lately. You know, he's not doing what a setup man is supposed to do. When you bring him in, a high leverage guy is supposed to get you out of jams. But every time he's been out, it looks like he's giving up inherited runs or runs for himself. I mean, he's got like an 8 ERA on the season, and he's keeps on getting put in these high leverage spots. And so my question is, when do you like put him in less leverage, and do you need to give him a couple of days more of rest so that he can get his stuff right? Because I mean, I don't even know. I don't think he looks that like his stuff looks that bad. Maybe he's tipping his pitchers or something because I don't think his stuff looks that bad. He is leaving some hangers, but he is a concern for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And after such a great start with Luke Weaver, all of a sudden we can't rely on him, and he's looking like last year's Luke Weaver. And so it is a concern for me. The only thing is, relievers, they're just like hitters. They go up and down throughout the season, and we've seen that already with Luke Weaver. He started off great, right? The talk, what was it, a week ago, was how our bullpen hadn't given up, or at least those four guys hadn't given up any earned runs. And then as soon as that gets posted, Luke Weaver starting to show the leaks, and so it's one of those things that I believe that it's just ebbs and flow of the season. Unfortunately, I think Nolan McLean said it, after his start when Luke Weaver gave it up. He said, this happens. Sometimes relievers are going to give it up, but he knows that they got his back and stuff like that. So I'm not too concerned if it continues to happen. I'm gonna chalk it up to one bad week for Luke Weaver. It looks worse just because of the funk that the Mets are in right now. Right, they're scoring runs, they lose. They score no runs, or they have a great pitching performance and they lose. So it just looks worse than it is right now, just because of the 5 game losing streak that the Mets are going through. And so I'm gonna just chalk it up for now. For now, I'm gonna leave the caveat open. For now, that is just one of those ebbs and flows of the season where he just had a bad week. So I expect him to turn it around next week, but it is a concern. So that's why I said I'm gonna leave the door open just slightly on it. So, but the next thing, I don't know if you guys got the news already, but it got tweeted out that Tommy Phan's being called up. Everybody's tweeting about it. Nobody's telling anybody for who it's for. But for me, it seems like it's going to be for Ronnie Mauricio. And why? Because Ronnie shouldn't have been up here in the first place, right? At the end of the day, Beatty's not going to get called down right now, and Mauricio is not getting any playing time. And the whole thing in the spring training, they told us why Mauricio wasn't going to make the team was for playing time. So it makes no sense why he's here, and because as long as Bichette can play, he's going to play, and as long as Simeon can play, he's going to play, and as long as Lindor's going to play, he's going to play. So there is no place for Mauricio to play, And if you want those, I mean, you had ample opportunities this week. You had excuse that everybody was playing bad to give guys a break, and the only guy you gave a semi break to was Bichette. That's the only guy you gave a break to, and so why was Mauricio up here? And unless I'm wrong, I hope I'm not wrong, but because I still want to see Carson Benj up here. I still don't want to give up on him yet. Obviously his struggles are well. We'll get into Carson Benj in a second, but the I'll let you talk about the Tommy Pham call.
Well, that's the only other guy, right? Is Carson Bench. Carson Bench obviously didn't have a good game yesterday. He's been slumping at the plate a little bit. He hasn't looked good in the field as much. He had that really good play in the sixth inning today to pick up Freddie Peralta and not give up more than one earned run. And so maybe that's what he needed, a little boost in the field to get his bat working too. But, I think that we're going to see more and more playing time taken away from a guy like Carson Bench for Tommy Pham to be put in there. And I know Tommy Pham is a right-handed bat, and Carlos Mendoza obviously likes playing the matchups. And so the only other option that you have to replace him is Ronnie Mauricio, and so maybe that's what makes sense right now, and maybe he does replace him, and it just does seem like a waste of his option. But at the end of the day, hopefully we don't need to option him all that much. I'm not too excited to see Tommy Pham because he's an old man, and he's talk trash on his way out of the Mets. We all know he was the one talking trash on his way out. He was open about it too, I think, when that
Yeah,
happened. But
yeah, he was
um,
open. That's why I don't
but
know if it's really talking trash or is it reality, right? After what we're seeing, right?
that's true. That's true. And the question is still who was he talking about in that clubhouse? Is that guy still in the clubhouse now, or was he traded away this offseason? So we'll see how the dynamic works coming up in this LA series. But hopefully, Tommy Pham does provide the spark that we need because I do remember in that 2023 season he was producing for us pretty well, and every I think everywhere he goes, I'm surprised that he doesn't get more playing time or doesn't get a bigger contract because he does do his job wherever he goes, and so I know that he's gonna get some playing time. How much is the question, and hopefully, yeah, he does provide a good pinch hit uh, here or there this season or this upcoming series and this upcoming week. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. And um, he's a guy that is going to do Tommy Pham things, kind of like um, we talked about. Drawing a blank on his name, but anyways, Tommy Pham is Tommy Pham. I'm not expecting him to be a world beater. Maybe he's come in here to shake things up. And actually, we need a little bit of attitude on this team right now. And so, who knows? But the next concern that we're going to bring up, when you're on a losing streak, there are plentiful concerns, right? A lot of concerns to talk about. And the next concern we're talking about is our rookie, Carson Bench. He's a guy that is not hitting right now. The defense is fine. Nothing to complain about. He had one error yesterday, but it really didn't cost us anything. But uh, you know, I mean, yes, it cost us a run, but I don't think that kind of changed the game. But uh, I personally am not ready to give up on him. I know you're not a big believer in Carson Bench, so I'm gonna let you take the floor on this one.
I don't have much to say, man. I've been saying this this whole time, back even in spring training, where I believe that he will benefit from being sent down to the minor leagues for a couple of weeks. Now, I do want to see him again. I don't think this is Carson Bench hate, but I just think that the kid needs a little bit more time to develop.
You're a
He's
hater.
was he was only in the minor leagues for so long, and he obviously looked like he was lagging a little bit behind early in the season and getting beat a bunch. And I think now that's affected him in the field as well. So where he's kind of malaned a little bit, and so hopefully, he starts to pick it up and proves me wrong. But maybe Tommy Pham does need to replace Carson Bench for a little bit so that he has some time to play every day, to develop his game, to get his swing rate, and to build some confidence. Because I think the past month or so has only, shot his confidence, and he needs to get that back because a good feeling Carson Bench is what we need for this team to have a little spark plug. I remember we talked about it in the spring training podcast that we did. Um, every at bat he was putting up a fight, and that carries over to the next at bat and to the next at bat. And so if he can get that spark back before getting sent down, then I'm all for it. But until then, I'm gonna keep on saying give that kid a couple more weeks in the minors.
Yeah, no, I'm not ready to do that. Evan Roberts kind of pointed it out that he compared it to Justin Pedroia with the Red Sox back in the day. You know, he struggled when he came up, and he struggled all the way until May, like first or second week in May, and so um, I think that's what as long as I want to give him to. I want to wait until at least the second week in May and see where he's at, and then we'll go from there. But hopefully, he'll turn it around by then, and we don't have to talk about this anymore. And or the team's hitting, and we just let Carson Benz develop on his own. Right? Those are the things that we need to hopefully will happen. Right? Either he turns it around, the team starts hitting, or both. We'll take both. So but I don't want to give up on him yet. I believe in him. I think he's the future right fielder of this team, and so let's continue with Carson Benj until as long as we can. I really believe Tommy Pham's here for his attitude more than anything else, to be honest with you. But we'll see. We'll see who's the guy that gets sent down. I may be eating my words next week if because unfortunately we don't know who's being sent down. So we'll see. But before we move on to the next segment, any other concerns from you?
No, man. I mean, we could go on and on throughout this podcast. Like you said, it's a 5 game losing streak. I could sit here and whine about Brett Beatty and the way his plate approach has been. I could whine about Mark Vientos and his plate approach and his play. I could whine about uh, Mendy and the lineups that he's constructed and his bullpen usage. But at the end of the day, those are my main concerns, and I'll lightly mention those other ones. But hopefully, we can pick things up in this next week, so we don't have so many things to complain about.
Yeah, no, for sure, and you're right, and I think all those things are exacerbated because of the losing streak, right? All the things get bigger than what they are. Sometimes, for example, the Mendy thing. You're trying to break the funk, so you're trying to do different things. But you're right. Beatty hasn't swung a good bat this week, and Vientos. I don't know what happened to him. All of a sudden, we thought he was back. Now he's gone. What's going on? Who let the real Vientos stand up? Let's.
I got a conspiracy about that too. Well, not much of a conspiracy, but I really just think that that guy needs to get out of New York. Not for our sake, but for his, because he seems to be do so much better when he's not playing in City Field at times. I know that's just me talking, but really he could be a change of scenery candidate, and hopefully that's not the case because we saw a really good Mark Vientos last week, but um, that's just conspiracy Victor talking.
Who knows? I mean, that's. I don't think you're totally wrong on that. But here's the thing: Stearns isn't going to give him away. So, in order for somebody, hopefully somebody sees that, because I do think Stearns is still willing to trade Vientos, but he's not willing to give him away for nothing. So, whatever team that is that may want Vientos, pay up. And I think Stearns will make a deal. So, and I'm not one to hold on to guys just because of their potential, right? We're the new New York Mets, and we can't be afraid of losing guys. The Dodgers lost Corey Seager and became a championship team, so I'm not worried about that. So, but let's get into the who's right part of the podcast. Let's talk about it, and just a little recap. Victor for the hitter of the week picked Francisco Francisco Lindor, and the pitcher Nolan McLean. Okay, I picked Bo Bichette as the hitter and Peralta as the pitcher. You know, I well, let's go into the hitter first, right? There wasn't much hitting going on this week, so we kind of talked offline a little bit to see uh, which guy we should go with, and we both decided on Bo Bichette had the most impact this week. You know, not a lot of impact, but the most impact, most consistent this week, and so the hitter of the week goes to Bo Bichette. So point for me. Series is tied 1-1. And as the pitcher, you know, we kind of we're going back and forth between Peralta and Nolan McLean. You know, who had the better week? You know, obviously Nolan McLean went into the seventh inning, and so we were leaning Nolan McLean, but then Victor mentioned mop up duty, and that you don't get enough credit in mop up duty, right? As pitchers, right? You don't get enough credit. Dickie Lovelady never got that much credit in mop up duty, and the pitcher of the week that we picked was Sean Manaea as the pitcher of the week, kind of saving the bullpen. So that's very underrated, and people don't understand the value of him saving the bullpen. Like today, going into tomorrow, we're gonna have a rested bullpen because Mania pitched 3 innings today and saved the bullpen. And so going into the Dodger series, we're going to have a rested bullpen, and I just think that that is valuable. That's why when Victor said that the pitcher of the week should be Sean Manaea, I was like, let's do it. This guy's been getting hate all spring training and the beginning of the season, and I love it. Save the bullpen, Sean Manaea, pitcher of the week.
Yeah, and listen, his stuff uh doesn't look that great. He's still throwing in the 70s and topping off in the high 80s. But uh the fact that he's able to come in these games and uh stop the bleeding to a sense and really save the bullpen like you said is underrated, and I think it's showing the role that he's leaning into. Not only is he able to do that, but his attitude about it is amazing too, because he's just a team player all in all, and uh, doesn't really care about the position that he's in right now. He's just gonna go out there, take the ball, and pitch whenever he's asked to. And so I've enjoyed seeing him do well these past couple of weeks. He's a great past couple of this past week. He's a great guy, and hopefully, yeah, he does continue to show out and get an opportunity to pitch. I don't want to see him start yet. I still don't believe that he's earned that spot. He still, like I said, doesn't have the stuff, but hopefully he does just this and plays a really good role of mop up duty to save the bullpen and leading up into big series, because this Dodger series could be pivotal uh, for the rest, not the rest of the season, but leading up into the summertime for us. This could be the start of our season if we can pick things up. So excited for that. And then to go just to mention a little bit of the hitter of the week. You know, Boba did have a good week. He picked things up. I've been hating on him a lot, but he showed just who he is and who he can be to this team, and that's a valuable player when you have men on getting those runs in. And yeah, let's hope that we keep on getting on base for Bo Bichette, because that's the kind of hitter that he is. I think that he benefits from being where he is in the lineup. I think he batted cleanup yesterday, and that was the reason that he got so many opportunities to bat runs in. And so hopefully he can continue to do that, and that he gets the gets back into the groove of things. Because like I said last week, if he plays well, then that means we don't get to see him next year, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, for sure, and so those are the guys. There's not much else that I'm gonna say on it because you know it was just a horrible week. I don't know what to say. Let's move on to the next week. Let's preview what we got up next. We got three-game series in LA and three-game series over the weekend with the Chicago Cubs. And the biggest game of the week for me this week is Tuesday night. Tuesday night is Yamamoto McLean. What an awesome matchup! It's you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that matchup. Those are the matchups that you stay up for. Like I hate staying up for West Coast games, but guess what I'm doing on Tuesday night? I'm staying up for that West Coast game because you got Noah McLean and Yamamoto going at it, and so obviously Dodgers are doing fine. They're doing well. And so that for me in the Dodger series, I'll let you talk about the Dodger series right now. But for me, the Dodger series, that's the biggest game of the week.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay up for these games. These 10-10 games are exhausting. I thought we were. I wish we would have had like a whole week of that. They're really messing with the Mets, man. Maybe that's what it is too. Is that they're having to go East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, and they're probably just tired and jet lagged. Maybe this is them getting back on the right timeline. But I am excited for this series because you know what? I think that the Mets, as much as they play down to their competition, I think they also play up to their competition. And I think they can turn it on this series. Like I said, this can be a starting point for the Mets season where if they do things right and take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, then that can set the tone for the rest of the season. And so let's hope that's what happens. David Peterson is going to be a pivotal point tomorrow, uh, setting the tone for the series. After we've seen him have some clunkers back to back, he did kind of redeem himself with the his last 3 innings of pitching, where he had some good quality stuff. He just had 2 bad innings, and those were the first and second. And so let's hope that tomorrow he can supply a good quality start, limit the damage. I know that's hard with this Dodger lineup, but if he can do that, then that's setting us up for success for the rest of the series.
And that's something that Peterson got to work on, right? He last two starts are actually kind of been very identical. He's he messes up in the first couple innings and then finishes it out. And gives you at least 5 innings in each of those games, and which is weird, horrible, and we need Peterson to be better to start off that way. And so you're right. We're going to need a great start from Peterson. Let's hopefully we get that first half Peterson from last year and start going again. And then on over the weekend we get the Chicago Cubs. Right, we're going up against a team that kind of looks a little like the Mets right now. They're 7-8, we're 7-9, and they have high expectations. We have high expectations, and so this weekend might be a battle of the teams that aren't doing that well but have high expectations. So this weekend, there's you know that's really the mark of this weekend. I don't know what else to say about it other than there's two teams with high expectations, not playing well, under 500, that potentially could kickstart their season this week.
Yeah, no, and they do have a good team. Bregman being on that team, and their starting pitching hasn't been too bad either. I'm a big Shoti Managa fan, and I don't know if we're gonna get to see him in this series, but that's gonna be an exciting that's gonna be exciting for us too. And if we do get to face off with them, like I said, this momentum from the Dodgers series could pay off. We do have that off day on Thursday, but going into Chicago, going into the Windy City, hopefully taking a 2 out of 3 from them, and with some good teams, because both of these teams, the Dodgers and the Cubs, are good teams. Can set the tone for us and get things going. And then before you know it, we have one more week until we have Soto back, and it'll be hopefully like this past week never happened. And so this week is a lot of fun baseball to look forward to if the Mets show up. So let's hope that they show up this in LA, and let's hope they show up in Chicago as well.
Yeah, and we probably do see him in Naga. He pitched yesterday, Saturday, for them, and so I do think we'll probably see him on Friday, I believe, and so you get your wish on watching your guy. But let's get into the final segment of of our podcast and hitter and pitcher of the week, and hopefully it's a happy recap next week. But I think I go first as the hitter this week. And so the series is tied 1-1. So hard fought series so far. And for me, you know what? I'm going to speak it into existence. Francisco Lindor is going to break out this week. I think you said it on earlier in the podcast. He's hearing the doubt in his play, not necessarily that he's I don't even know how to say it, but people are talking about can he do it anymore, right? We even talked offline yesterday, not even today. We talked about it yesterday, how uh, if Elian Pena has a great year, and starts knocking on the door with all these 19-year-olds, 19 and 20-year-olds that we're seeing in the majors today, what if Elian Peñas is the next guy, right? And so, and the first thought was obviously we're not going to get rid of Lindor, but maybe Lindor moving out of shortstop. So we even talked about it, but I'm saying not yet. Lindor's going to turn it up. He's hearing all the echoes, and Lindor's going to be the hitter of the week.
I'm so glad you did that because I didn't want him to do that this week. I already did that last weekend. I think I provide him some bad luck. So I am hoping that he breaks out of this funk this week. Um, I kind of want a backup pick in case we hear some news about this, uh, like tomorrow. But I'm going to go with a guy that I also think needs to break out of the funk, that I hope gets some playing time, that I think will get some playing time because we're going to see mostly right-handed pitching. And I'm gonna go with Carson Bench. Carson Bench had a great play out in center field this week. I think he's gonna continue to get reps out there as they look to give Luis Robert rest, and this week, and then playing out in left field while Soto's down. I think he's going to pick up the defense, and that's going to translate to the plate, and that he's going to have these long at bats that are going to lead to hits. And we saw a little bit of the power at the beginning of the year. Maybe he gets a home run and he gets things going for himself again too, and then that'll really extend our lineup if we can get more out of Carson Bench and get him on base a lot more. And so I'm rooting for the kid this week. I know I've talked a lot of trash about him, and then maybe this is the nail in the coffin for me. If he doesn't perform, maybe I'm gonna petition every week to have him sent down.
Hey, one, I don't even know who I'm talking to right now. But two, we're both speaking to guys that we want to succeed. So at the end of the day, let both of them succeed this week and make the decision hard for us next week. So I'm all for it. Now, pitcher of the week. You go first.
Yeah. You know what? It's gonna be a hard fought series, and I think it's gonna be hard to say we're gonna see a lot of low scoring games, especially with the lineups that we're gonna see this week. And so my pitcher of the week is gonna be Devin Williams in hope of us seeing a lot of save opportunities this week, and we're going to get a lot of opportunities for him to really prove that he's the good Edwin Diaz replacement. We're going to see Edwin Diaz this series, and I know there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings because of that. But you know what's going to be even better if we don't have to face those hurt feelings because we're the ones getting saves in those games, and Devin Williams is the one saving those games. And so I'm going with Devin Williams. I hope that we give him the opportunity to prove that he's the pitcher of the week.
No, I love it. And Diaz blew his first save this week, so going in there, hopefully, I love to hear it. I'd rather, like you said, get the save rather than have to face Diaz. So I love it. That's a good pick. I'm gonna go with, we just talked about him, a guy that has finished strong, started slow, and so I'm gonna go with Peterson this week. I think that we're gonna see first half Peterson, and he's gonna start turning it around and have a good week of pitching this week because he's a guy that I know it's in there. He's just gotta be consistent now. Obviously we've seen it, we just haven't seen it consistently. So that's the guy that I'm picking this week.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I'm hoping that he does set the tone for the Mets, get them out of this skid that they're on, and you know, the great thing about these ground ball pitchers is they can pitch deep into games. And so that's what I'm hoping out of Peterson is that he gives us a deep quality start.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And so that's it for the pod. But before we get out of here, I want to give a big shout out to our boy who is now with the Oakland Athletics. Oakland Exit. Wow, I messed that up. Sacramento Athletics. Jeff McNeil came back, especially that Friday game, got the tribute. I know Severino got the tribute, but we played him last year. So, this is more about Jeff McNeil. Got the tribute. You could tell he was emotional. He got a standing O from the crowd. The ump let it ride for a while, and you could tell that first at bat that Jeff McNeil was feeling a little bit. I even felt a little bit. I was an advocate of him being traded, so it's not me. Crying over spilled milk right here. It's just giving a shout out to a Met that that gave us all he had for a lot of years, and whether we liked it or not, on how he came about it, he still gave it all. And big shout out, big love to Jeff McNeil.
Yeah, Mets fans are awesome. The fact that they showed up, over all of the hurt feelings that we've had for him over the past couple of years, the feuds that him and Lindor had, uh, to still show up, give him that standing O, and uh, really show him support and love is awesome. And not only in his first at bat but throughout the whole series was he showing that he missed being in City Field or just appreciated being in City Field again. Running, I was laughing when he was running out that fly ball in center field. He ran all the way out to try to catch that ball because I think he was just so emotional, so invested in the game. And I do I still got some love in my heart for Jeff McNeil, and I wish him all the best and continued success and his time in Las Vegas. They had those. patches on their jerseys this past weekend, and that was fun to see. So yeah, it was great to see Jeff McNeil back in City Field.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, guys, before we get out of here, subscribe to the channel, like this video, let us know how you're feeling. Leave a comment while you're watching this on replay. Yeah, just how you feeling about the team. Are you still optimistic? Are you down on the team? Let us know how you're thinking. But share this video with your friends and your family. And Victor, any last words?
Now, man, I mean, listen, the Mets have a long season ahead. You know, where we got like 150 games left to play, and so I know it seems doom and gloom right now, but let's get some good baseball. We know that this team is going to be streaky. I think we're used to more bad and good, but it might be bad, 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 and good, good, good. And so let's hope that the good outweighs the bad, and and that this, like I said, this series coming up sets the tone for the rest of the year. So let's go Mets, and let's go get them.
Let's go, Mets.